My own mother looked me in the eyes and lied. Not a small lie. Not an exaggeration. A calculated, rehearsed, devastating lie designed to take my children away from me forever. She sat in that witness chair, hand on the Bible she'd taught me to respect, and told a judge I was an unfit mother. And my father, the man who walked me down the aisle, who cried when my daughters were born, who called me his greatest blessing at every birthday, he backed her up without hesitation. But here's what they didn't know: my 11-year-old daughter had been watching everything. Recording everything. Because children see more than adults think, and my Lily had seen enough to know something was very, very wrong. My name is Natalie Brennan, and for 8 years, I thought I had the perfect life. I married David Brennan when I was 25, a charming accountant from a good family, the kind of man my parents had always hoped I'd find. We bought a house in the suburbs of Columbus, Ohio. We had 2 beautiful daughters, Lily, now 11, and Sophie, now 7. From the outside, we were living the American dream. From the inside, I was drowning. David wasn't violent. Let me be clear about that, he never raised a hand to me or the girls. But there are other kinds of cruelty. Quieter kinds. The kind that chip away at your sense of self until you don't recognize the woman staring back at you in the mirror. He controlled everything. The finances, the social calendar, the decisions about the kids. He'd tell me what to wear, who to be friends with, how to speak at dinner parties. When I disagreed, he didn't yell, he just gave me this look. This cold, disappointed look that made me feel like I'd failed some test I didn't know I was taking. I just want what's best for our family, he'd say. Why do you always have to make things difficult? I started to believe him. Started to think I was the problem. That if I could just be better, quieter, more agreeable, more perfect, everything would be fine. It took me 6 years to realize I wasn't the problem. It took me 2 more to get the courage to leave. I filed for divorce 3 days after my 33rd birthday. I'd been planning it for months, secretly meeting with a lawyer named Patricia Okonkwo, moving small amounts of money into a hidden account, documenting everything I could about David's controlling behavior. I knew he wouldn't let me go easily. I knew I had to be prepared. What I didn't prepare for was my parents. You're making a mistake, Mom said when I told her. David is a good man. A good provider. You're throwing away everything. He's controlling, Mom. He monitors my phone. He tells me what to wear. That's called being involved in his marriage. That's what husbands do. No. It's not. Dad was worse. I'm disappointed in you, Natalie. Marriage is about commitment. You don't just walk away because things aren't perfect. Things aren't imperfect, Dad. I'm miserable. I've been miserable for years, then work harder. That's what your mother and I did. 50 years together, we didn't quit when things got tough. They didn't understand. They couldn't understand. To them, David was the perfect son-in-law, successful, polite, always bringing wine to Sunday dinners. They saw the mask he wore for the world. They never saw what happened behind closed doors. Or maybe they saw it and didn't care. The divorce proceedings started in January. David was furious. Not heartbroken, he never loved me, not really, I realize that now, but furious that I defied him. That I'd made a decision without his permission. That I'd damaged his carefully constructed image of the perfect family. You'll regret this, he said when I served him the papers. I'll make sure of it. I thought he meant financially. I thought he'd fight over the house, the savings, the cars, all the material things he cared so much about. I never imagined he'd fight for the children he'd barely paid attention to for 11 years. The custody petition arrived in March. Full custody to David Brennan. Visitation only for Natalie Brennan. Grounds: maternal instability, neglectful parenting, failure to maintain appropriate household standards. I read it 3 times before the words made sense. This is insane, I told Patricia. He's barely ever home. He doesn't know their teachers' names. He's never been to a single parent-teacher conference. That doesn't matter to him. What matters is winning. Patricia looked at me with concern. Natalie, I have to ask. Is there any truth to these allegations? Any history of mental health issues, any incidents? No. Nothing. I've been the primary parent for 11 years. I do everything: school pickups, doctor appointments, homework, bedtimes. David travels for work constantly. He's gone more than he's home. Then we'll fight this. But I need you to understand, custody battles are ugly. He's going to try to make you look bad. We need to be prepared for whatever he throws at us. I nodded, determined. I had no idea how bad it would get. The first hearing was in April. David's lawyer painted a picture of me that I barely recognized, a hysterical woman, prone to mood swings, neglectful of her children's basic needs. He submitted evidence, photos of a messy house, taken during a particularly chaotic week when both girls had the flu. Text messages where I'd expressed frustration, taken completely out of context, and testimonies from David's friends calling him an exemplary father. I sat there, stunned, watching my life be rewritten into something unrecognizable. But the real blow came next. Your Honor, David's lawyer announced, we'd like to call our next witnesses. Richard and Margaret Dawson, the respondents' parents. The courtroom doors opened. My mother walked in first, dressed in her Sunday best, not meeting my eyes. My father followed, his jaw set in that stubborn line I knew so well. They'd told me they were staying neutral. They'd told me they loved me and would support whatever decision the court made. They'd told me, please state your name for the record. Margaret Dawson. And your relationship to the parties involved? I'm Natalie's mother. The children's grandmother. Mrs. Dawson, can you tell the court about your daughter's parenting? My mother took a deep breath. And then she destroyed me. She's unstable, Your Honor. The words hit me like physical blows. We've seen her neglect those children. Leaving them in front of screens for hours. Forgetting to feed them proper meals. Having emotional outbursts that frighten them. That's not true, I started. Ms. Brennan, you'll have your opportunity to respond, the judge said. Please continue, Mrs. Dawson. My mother continued. She talked about times I'd screamed at the children for no reason. I'd raised my voice once when Sophie ran into traffic. She described my house as filthy and chaotic. It was lived in, with children's toys, normal. She claimed I'd abandoned the children with strangers. I'd hired a background-checked babysitter so I could attend therapy appointments. Every incident was twisted. Every normal parenting moment became evidence of my unfitness. Then my father took the stand. I love my daughter, he said, sounding rehearsed. But I have to be honest about what I've seen. She's not the same person she used to be. She's angry, resentful, unpredictable. The children deserve stability, and right now, David is the one who can provide that. You support Mr. Brennan's petition for full custody? We support our son-in-law fully. He's a good man. A good father. The children should be with him. David smiled from across the courtroom. That smug, satisfied smile I'd seen 1,000 times when he got exactly what he wanted. I looked at Patricia. She looked back at me with a steady expression. Your Honor, she said calmly, we'd like a brief recess before cross-examination. In the hallway, I collapsed against the wall. They lied. They lied about everything. I know. Patricia's voice was calm, controlled. And we're going to prove it. How? It's their word against mine. The judge is going to believe them. They're my parents, Natalie. Patricia took my shoulders, forcing me to focus. I didn't want to tell you this until I was sure it would be admissible. But your daughter came to me 2 weeks ago. Lily? She brought me something. A video. Recorded on her iPad at Thanksgiving. I stared at her. What video? The video where your parents discuss their plan to lie in court so David can keep the house. Lily was old enough to understand what was happening. She'd watched her father become increasingly cold over the years. She'd watched me shrink smaller and smaller. She'd overheard arguments, seen the way David spoke to me when he thought no one was listening. And at Thanksgiving, the last holiday before I filed for divorce, she'd overheard something that made her start recording. My parents had been in the kitchen with David. Lily was supposed to be in the living room watching the parade with her sister, but she'd come to get a drink and heard voices. The divorce is going to be ugly, David was saying. I need you both on my side. Of course we're on your side, my mother replied. Natalie's making a mistake. She doesn't know what's good for her. I need more than moral support. I need you to testify. Say whatever it takes to help me get custody. A pause. Then my father, what exactly would we need to say? That she's unstable. That she neglects the kids. That I'm the better parent. But David, my mother said carefully, that's not really true. Natalie is a good mother. We've seen how she, Margaret. David's voice went cold. If Natalie gets custody, she gets the house. She gets alimony. She gets everything I've worked for. Is that what you want? Of course not, but you'll keep your Sunday dinners with the grandchildren. You'll keep your relationship with me. All I'm asking is that you help me protect my family's assets from someone who decided to blow up our marriage for no reason. Silence. Then my mother, of course she's a good mother. We just need to say otherwise so David gets the house. It's not like we're actually trying to hurt her. We're just protecting everyone's interests. My father, what exactly would we need to say? Lily had recorded every word. Court reconvened after the recess. My parents were still seated, looking confident. David was whispering with his lawyer, probably planning how to capitalize on their testimony. The judge was reviewing notes. Patricia stood. Your Honor, before we proceed with cross-examination, we have new evidence to submit. David's lawyer frowned. Your Honor, we weren't notified of any new evidence. It was obtained within the last 48 hours and is directly relevant to the testimony just provided. Given the serious nature of this custody hearing, I request permission to present it immediately. The judge considered. I'll allow it. Proceed. Patricia connected her laptop to the courtroom's display system. Your Honor, this is a video recording made on November 23 of last year, Thanksgiving Day, at the Dawson family home. It was recorded by Lily Brennan, age 11, on her iPad. My mother's face went pale. The plaintiffs testified under oath that my client is an unfit mother. This recording will demonstrate that they know the opposite to be true. She pressed play. The quality wasn't perfect. Lily had been filming through a doorway, trying to stay hidden, but the audio was crystal clear. David's voice, I need you to testify. Say whatever it takes to help me get custody. My father, what exactly would we need to say? That she's unstable. That she neglects the kids. That I'm the better parent. My mother, but David, that's not really true. Natalie is a good mother. We've seen how Margaret. If Natalie gets custody, she gets the house. She gets alimony. She gets everything I've worked for. And then, the words that would change everything. Of course she's a good mother. We just need to say otherwise so David gets the house. It's not like we're actually trying to hurt her. We're just protecting everyone's interests. The recording ended. The courtroom was silent. My mother's face had gone from pale to gray. My father was staring at the blank screen like he was hoping it would somehow erase what everyone had just heard. David's lawyer was scrambling through papers, trying to find something, anything, to salvage the situation. And David himself, for the first time in 8 years, I saw real fear on his face. Your Honor, David's lawyer tried, this recording was obtained without consent. It's inadmissible. The recording was made by a minor child in a home where she had every right to be, Patricia countered. Ohio is a one-party consent state for recordings, and courts have consistently held that minors can serve as consenting parties when they have legitimate interest in the proceedings. The judge nodded slowly. I'll allow it. The recording directly contradicts testimony given under oath. He turned to my parents, his expression hardening. Mr. and Mrs. Dawson. You testified under oath that your daughter was an unfit mother. That she neglected her children. That you supported the petitioner's request for full custody. My mother opened her mouth, but no words came out. This recording clearly shows that you knew your testimony was false. That you were, in fact, part of a coordinated effort to help the petitioner gain custody for financial reasons, not the welfare of the children. Your Honor, we can explain, my father started. You can explain to the district attorney. Perjury is a serious crime in this state. The judge made a note. I'm referring this matter for criminal investigation. My mother burst into tears. Real tears this time, not the performative ones she'd used during her testimony. I'm sorry, she sobbed. Natalie, I'm so sorry. Mrs. Dawson, please contain yourself. But she couldn't stop. We didn't mean for it to go this far. David said it would be simple. He said you'd never find out. He said. Your Honor, David's lawyer interrupted loudly. I move for a continuance. Denied. We're finishing this today. The judge turned to Patricia. Counselor, do you have any additional evidence? Patricia smiled. As a matter of fact, Your Honor, we do. What followed was a systematic demolition of every claim David had made. Patricia presented attendance records from Lily and Sophie's school, showing that I had attended every parent-teacher conference, every school play, every awards ceremony. David's attendance, 0. She submitted medical records proving I'd taken the girls to every doctor's appointment, every dentist visit, every vaccination for 11 years. David's involvement, none. She showed emails from David's work colleagues confirming he traveled an average of 20 days per month. Hard to be an exemplary father, from hotel rooms in other cities. She called teachers, pediatricians, and family friends who testified to my involvement in the girls' lives. To David's absence. To the reality of our family that he'd tried so hard to hide. And finally, she called Lily. My daughter walked into that courtroom with her shoulders back and her chin up. She was only 11, but in that moment, she seemed older. Braver. More certain of herself than I'd ever been at that age. Lily, Patricia said gently, can you tell the court why you recorded that conversation at Thanksgiving? Because I knew something was wrong. Lily's voice was clear and steady. I heard Dad talking to Grandma and Grandpa about the divorce, and it didn't sound right. He was telling them to lie. Were you scared to record them? Yes. But I was more scared of what would happen if I didn't. And what were you scared would happen? Lily looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw years of observation in her eyes. Years of watching, understanding, waiting. I was scared they would take me and Sophie away from Mom. And I knew that would be wrong, because Mom is the one who takes care of us. Mom is the one who's there. What about your father? Lily paused. Dad works a lot. He's not home very much. And when he is home. She hesitated. He's not very nice to Mom. He talks to her like she's stupid. He makes her feel bad about herself. Does he do that to you and your sister? Not the same way. But we see it. We know. Lily looked at David, looked right at him without flinching. I don't want to live with someone who treats my mom like that. And I don't want Sophie to grow up thinking that's normal. The courtroom was completely silent. David stared at his daughter like he'd never seen her before. Like he'd never considered that she might have opinions, observations, judgments of her own. I was crying. I couldn't help it. My little girl, my brave, smart, incredible little girl, had just saved our family. The judge's ruling came the next day. Full custody to Natalie Brennan. Supervised visitation for David Brennan, every other weekend, monitored by a court-appointed supervisor until further evaluation. The petition for custody based on maternal unfitness was dismissed with prejudice. And referrals were made to the district attorney for perjury charges against Richard and Margaret Dawson. The aftermath was complicated. David didn't fight the ruling. His lawyer advised him that any appeal would only make things worse, especially given the recording and Lily's testimony. He moved out of state 3 months later, supposedly for work. The girls see him 4 times a year now, always supervised. They don't seem to miss him much. My parents were charged with perjury. The case is still pending. They're claiming they were coerced by David, trying to paint themselves as victims. They might avoid jail time, but their reputation is destroyed. Everyone in our community has heard the recording. Everyone knows what they did. They've tried to reach out. Letters, phone calls, showing up at my door. Always with explanations, justifications, pleas for forgiveness. We didn't mean for it to happen this way. David manipulated us. We're your parents, doesn't that count for something? I haven't responded. I don't know if I ever will. Lily asked me about forgiveness once. Are you going to let Grandma and Grandpa apologize? She asked, about 6 months after the trial. I don't know, honey. What they did was really serious. I know. She was quiet for a moment. But they're still your parents. They lied to take you away from me. They looked at a judge and said I was a bad mother when they knew it wasn't true. I know. Lily curled up next to me on the couch. I guess I'm just wondering, is there anything someone can do that's too bad to forgive? I thought about it. Really thought about it, the way my daughter deserved. I think forgiveness isn't about forgetting what someone did. It's about deciding not to let it poison you anymore. I stroked her hair. But forgiving someone doesn't mean you have to trust them again. It doesn't mean you have to let them back into your life. So you might forgive them but still not see them? I might. Eventually. When I'm ready. That makes sense. She snuggled closer. I'm not ready either. It's been 2 years since the custody hearing. The girls are thriving. Lily is 13 now, brilliant, confident, already talking about becoming a lawyer. Sophie is 9, obsessed with soccer and marine biology and a different random topic every week. We moved to a smaller house, one that's ours alone, with a garden and a tire swing and walls that have never heard David's cold, dismissive voice. I started therapy. Started rebuilding the sense of self that 8 years of marriage had eroded. Started remembering who I was before I became someone's controlled, diminished wife. I even started dating again, carefully, slowly, with boundaries I never knew how to set before. There's someone new. He's kind. Patient. He asks my opinion and actually listens to the answer. It's such a small thing, but it still surprises me every time. My parents remain on the outside, looking in. They pleaded no contest to the perjury charges. Community service, probation, fines. No jail time, like I predicted. They've sent birthday cards to the girls, always returned unopened. They've tried to come to school events, always asked to leave. They've written letters explaining, apologizing, begging. The letters go into a box in my closet. Maybe someday I'll read them. Maybe someday I'll be ready to hear what they have to say. But not yet. Not until the wound stops feeling fresh. Not until I can think about that courtroom, about my mother's lies, my father's betrayal, their willingness to destroy me for David's money, without feeling like I'm drowning all over again. Last week, Lily found the box of letters. Are these from Grandma and Grandpa? Yes. Have you read them? No. She nodded slowly, processing. Do you think you ever will? I don't know, honey. Would you want me to? She thought about it, really thought, the way she always does, careful and deliberate and wise beyond her years. I think you should do whatever helps you feel whole. She put the box back, but I also think that people who really love you don't try to take away your children. So maybe those letters don't have anything worth reading. I pulled her into a hug. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart. You're just finally paying attention. She was joking, but there was truth underneath. I'd spent so many years diminished, distracted, surviving. I'd missed pieces of my daughter's growing up. Missed the moment Lily became this incredible person standing in front of me. Never again. I would never miss anything again. The recording still exists. Patricia has the original, stored securely in case David ever tries to reopen the custody arrangement. Lily has a copy too, somewhere, she won't tell me where, just says it's safe. Sometimes I think about that moment in the courtroom. The silence after the recording played. My mother's face crumbling as she realized what she'd done. My father's shock at being caught. David's fear when he understood his careful plan had just collapsed. And I think about my daughter, 11 years old, scared but determined, making the choice to protect her family when the adults failed. She saved us. Not me, not Patricia, not the legal system. Lily saved us. They sat in that courtroom and lied about me under oath. My own parents, the people who raised me, who taught me right from wrong, who were supposed to love me unconditionally, looked at a judge and said I was an unfit mother. They did it for money. For David's approval. For reasons I still don't fully understand. But my daughter understood. My 11-year-old daughter saw what was happening, knew it was wrong, and did something about it. She was braver than all the adults combined. She was the one who finally told the truth. People ask me if I'll ever forgive my parents. I don't know. What I know is this: forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. I'm walking that path slowly, at my own pace, with my girls beside me. And if I never reach the end? That's okay too. Some betrayals change you forever. Some lies can't be unheard. And some relationships can't survive the moment when the people who should have protected you chose to destroy you instead. But I survived. My girls are safe. We're building a new life, one without David's control, without my parents' expectations, without anyone telling us who we have to be. That's not just survival. That's victory. And it started with a recording made by a brave little girl who refused to let the truth stay hidden.